Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
I'm watching two systems, one which brings us a level 1 risk for severe storms later today, and then Hurricane Lee forecast to become Category 5. I'll show you when.
Well, solid waste workers in Durham are taking a stand for better wages. What that could mean for people in the Bull City.
And a convicted killer who escaped from a Pennsylvania prison is doing well at avoiding authorities. It has been a week since he broke out, where authorities believe the escapee might be headed.
Well, there's heat from the beach all the way back here in the Triangle. Certainly air conditioning problems at another Wake County school is prompting another early release. Wake County just announced Millbrook High School students are being released right now. So they get their lunch and then they can get picked up. Those who ride the bus can ride home on that. And if you normally pick up your child, now would be a good time. They'll be allowed to leave with you. Good afternoon to you. I'm Jeff Hogan.
And I'm Renee Chu. Thanks for joining us. Temperatures are close to record highs again this afternoon. The heat index will make it feel like low 100s, and the HVAC systems at several schools are just finding it hard to keep up with everything. Elizabeth joins us now with a look at how hot it feels right now and information about Hurricane Lee.
Yes, of course, we're looking at several days in a row, so it has been really difficult for these systems to keep up with all of this heat. Some of the relief headed our way will come in the form of a cold front that will help to drop our temperatures over the weekend, and it will also help to bring us a chance of thunderstorms. We have a level 1 risk for severe storms, and as we take a look at our forecast, we're looking at a little bit of cloud cover out there right now. A little rain back to our west continues to try to push our way, but the newest runs of the computer models just don't see a whole lot of rain for us for today. That chance goes up a little bit for Friday and continues to climb through the weekend. So a better chance coming up. Even though we have that level 1 risk, it really looks like a lot of us will end up being dry this afternoon and really hot too. Right now we're taking a live look across Wake County. It's hazy with some cumulus clouds popping up, and it's also 95 degrees. At this time yesterday, it was 97 and we hit 102, and being things are fairly similar, we could be pointed to 99 or 100 again this afternoon. Our dew point is 69, so it's down below 70. That keeps our heat index from being quite as hot as it could be, but we are looking at heat index in the Triangle of 100, 100 in Fayetteville, 104 in Clinton, 106 in Goldsboro, 100 in Rocky Mount. So it is feeling very hot out there right now, and that temperature, our forecast for today has been 97. We're going to hold it there, but it wouldn't be out of the question to see 98 and 99, maybe even 100 in some places, since we're already at 95 degrees. Hurricane Lee, brand new information, of course, that came in at 11 o'clock. Winds really jumped. Our advisory from 5 o'clock this morning was 80-mile-per-hour winds. Now it's up to 105. So it started to move into that warm ocean temperature area where it's likely to rapidly intensify. By Saturday morning, 160-mile-per-hour winds, which is a Category 5. If there's any positive news about that, it does look like as it continues to push north and west that it weakens somewhat. Still a Category 4 at 8 a.m. on Tuesday with 140-mile-per-hour winds. Coming up, I'm going to show you why it may continue to decrease in intensity. We'll take a look at the computer model plots. Those are in pretty good agreement. That starts to make that northerly turn during the day on Thursday, but I'll show you why that could put it in an area that's less likely for it to be as strong. Coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. For the second day in a row, Durham solid waste workers did not get on their trucks to collect trash. The city employees are demanding more money and better benefits. WRAL's Monica Casey is live at the Solid Waste Management Department speaking with some of those workers. Monica.
Durham solid waste employees say they are overworked and underpaid. They're asking for a cost of living pay increase and an immediate $5,000 bonus. Instead of being on their trucks today out collecting that trash, they are striking here outside their building. Workers I've spoken with today emphasize the risks they took during the pandemic, never missing a day regardless of how high COVID numbers spiked. Many say they work second jobs to make ends meet, and some still cannot afford to live in Durham.
Not putting us in the same category as police, first responders. We came together and did a job that most people won't do in a circumstance such as COVID or any other instance such as, that type of situation.
Union representatives say wages have gone up 15% since 2019, but they say the cost of living in the area has gone up even more and the pay isn't keeping pace. They're asking the city to pay workers for all work outside their job title and hire all temporary workers to be permanent. Now, this group rallied at Tuesday's city council meeting, and they'll be back at today's city council work session over at City Hall. That work session starts at 1. Renee?
No doubt those workers provide a very important service. Monica Casey reporting live in Durham.
As a reminder, we told you off the top, Millbrook High School students are being released early from school due to AC issues. Millbrook joins 2 other Wake County schools with air conditioning problems during this heat. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains the struggles to keep buildings cool.
The school day here at Apex Friendship High School ended nearly 5 hours early. The principal released a statement earlier today saying that they changed their early dismissal time to 9:30 from their original time, 11:15. The principal says they first set an 11:15 dismissal time because they assumed the building would cool overnight. But instead, the building became hotter, too hot for students to go to class. Wake County Schools released a statement yesterday saying the school's air conditioning system is running at a limited capacity and can't cool the whole building.
Our classroom was like 88. It was so hot, but it kind of just made it harder to learn because obviously you're hot and you can't focus and you're worrying about, I don't know, you're sweating and it's just like miserable.
And what happens if parents can't pick up their students early from school? Well, the school system says that they will have staff members staying with each student until every child gets a ride home. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Apex.
Cooling stations are open for a 3rd straight day in Wake County. If you need a place to beat the heat, you can stop by Health and Human Services buildings, social services buildings, and county libraries will be available. They are open until 5:15 this evening.
Low water levels at Lake Wheeler in Raleigh is making it dangerous for boaters. City officials are discouraging all trailered boats more than 18 feet in length from going out on the lake today. They say damage to boats and trailers is possible. Water levels there have dropped more than 16 inches, and without any substantial rainfall, they will keep dropping. All boaters on Lake Wheeler need to be aware of low water hazards like stumps and exposed shorelines during this time. You can find daily updates on water levels at raleighnc.gov. The extreme heat we've been seeing this week is not keeping student athletes and marching band members around the Triangle from practicing. The Shaw University Marching Band practiced last night to avoid the worst heat of the day. At NC State, musicians practiced on the field but kept water bottles and ice packs close. Students say they also made sure to take lots of breaks.
Made a point today to make sure we got water every 15 minutes or so, just to make sure everybody was staying hydrated, staying cool.
It's not just college students taking precaution. Chapel Hill Carborough City school leaders say the school system has considered postponing or delaying after-school activities if the weather warrants it.
You can get gas for $1.76 today until 2 p.m. at the Breeze Through Market on Edwards Mill Road. Hundreds of drivers lined up to fill up their tanks today. This discount comes as part of Breeze Through Market's Customer Appreciation Day. The company is partnering with the 76 gas station for the event. CEO Adam Stevenson says today's discount is about giving drivers relief from higher gas prices.
And it's expensive for everybody, right? It's expensive for us to buy it from our fuel supplier. It's expensive to make the stuff coming out of the ground. But we feel like this is a way that folks can at least feel a little bit of a relief, even if it's for a short period of time.
To celebrate today's event, the company also gave Raleigh Rescue Mission a $10,000 donation.
Crews worked to put out a house fire in Durham. They were called to the scene on Linwood Avenue around 5:30 this morning. Brett Neese was there in the WRAL Breaking News Tracker.
Crews have put out the fire. Now they are monitoring for hot spots, but take a look at all the damage to this home that sits on Linwood Avenue, right near the intersection of Olson Avenue, not far from the Durham Freeway. A lot of damage to the roof and the backside of this home. I want to also show you some video from the WRAL Breaking News Tracker to show you the flames that were shooting through the roof when we first got here shortly after 5:30. That's when this fire started, and crews responded with at least 8 fire trucks and put as much water on this home as quickly as possible to get that fire out. The good news is nobody was injured as a result of this fire. We're working to learn whether or not anybody was living at this home when this started. The fire marshal will be out at this home later today to investigate what exactly caused this fire. We'll stay on top of that part of the story and keep you updated. In Durham, Brett Neese, WRAL News.
Next at noon, a look from above where the search for an escaped killer continues in Pennsylvania, as well as our first look inside the prison that shows how he got out, where the manhunt goes from here.
Also caught on camera, how thieves smashed into this heavily fortified business and grabbed all the guns they could.
Plus, time is running out for prosecutors to indict Hunter Biden on tax and gun charges. At 12:30, a deeper look into what this could mean for his father's re-election plans.
Download the new WRAL streaming apps on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and Android TV.
Turning now to the latest in the ongoing manhunt for a dangerous fugitive in Pennsylvania. Officials released a video of his escape from the prison as nearby schools remain closed with the convicted killer still on the loose. NBC's George Solis tells us where authorities believe this search may lead.
New revelations in this investigation, certainly raising more questions. We now know that there was a guard on duty in the watchtower at the time of the escape, but the inmate still wasn't reported missing for nearly an hour. Now, the public has continued to ask for help with any sightings as the search continues to expand. Now, this escape here at the prison mirrors one that happened just back in May when another inmate scaled the same wall. The only difference is that there wasn't razor wire that was put in shortly after that escape to prevent something like this from happening again. Now, keep in mind, this all was contained within a 2-mile radius at one point. That expanded once Cavalcante was spotted outside of that search zone. Now authorities are looking really far south and even east, wondering if he'll cross over into Delaware. So a lot of residents in this area are still concerned. As for that guard that was in the tower at the time of the escape, well, officials are saying that he was put on administrative leave. We now know that the state attorney general's office is also investigating the escape. They're the ones that authorized the release of that video. A lot of residents here are starting to wonder if this inmate will ever be caught. They are just hoping this all comes to a peaceful resolution. Back to you.
We sure hope so. That inmate looked like Spider-Man. That was NBC's George Solis reporting. Police in Washington state are looking for thieves behind a smash and grab that was caught on camera. Video shows a vehicle crashing into a gun store early yesterday morning. It was no easy task. Officers say they smashed through concrete reinforced with rebar. The store also had security doors behind the main business doors. Once inside, the crew smashed cases and grabbed firearms.
Having the guns on the street is certainly the biggest concern for us, that they're just out there and we don't know where they're going to go. They obviously have serial numbers attached to them, and so they'll be entered into our state national database as a stolen firearm.
Witnesses say the thieves got away in another vehicle. At one point, police put up a drone to survey the crime scene. Right now, they're looking at surveillance video from nearby homes and businesses.
It's finally here after a long, hot summer. We had a full slate of college games this past weekend, and now the NFL kicks off its regular season tonight with defending champ Kansas City taking on the Detroit Lions. Jay Gray shows us how fans are gearing up for a long day of tailgating.
Chiefs Kingdom has been, well, beating the drum for the start of this season since the last time their team played, which worked out pretty good. And now 7 months later, the Super Bowl excitement continues.
Everywhere you go, everybody's talking Chiefs, and I came home to my husband. I said, the guy at Home Depot wanted to talk to me about the Chiefs.
The city, awash in Chiefs red, flags and cheerleaders turning parks and street corners into kickoff eve pep rallies. The visiting Lions are feeling the energy of the first game, too.
We know it's prime time. We know we're in a big stadium with a lot of people, so we're ready to go.
Traveling from Motown, looking to bring their own momentum and silence the championship celebration.
And I think our job and what they should really relish in is, trying to, quiet the crowd. That to me is the ultimate. If you can quiet the crowd because you're making plays.
The plays, the party, the NFL season kicking off in just hours at Arrowhead Stadium.
That was Jay Gray reporting, and the NFL season officially kicks off tonight on WRAL as you look live at Arrowhead Stadium, where it all goes down. Reigning Super Bowl champs Kansas City and Detroit Lions. There is some question if the Chiefs star tight end Travis Kelce will play because of a knee injury. We'll find out. The game kicking off at 8:15. Coverage begins 7 o'clock. And on Sunday, the Carolina Panthers take on division rival Atlanta. It'll be the first regular season game for #1 overall pick QB Bryce Young. The team gets a fresh start this Sunday. You can catch all the action on Fox 50. Kickoff is at 1 p.m.
Talk about a Labor Day concert one California woman will never forget. Sarah Frances Jones, who was pregnant, emphasis on the word was, did not want to miss Beyonce's birthday show. Jones thought she'd be fine since she had a C-section scheduled about a week later, but baby Nola had other ideas. When Beyonce started Virgo's Groove, Nola wanted to join in on the fun.
It had to be like a perfect set of circumstances. We're at Beyonce's birthday concert on Labor Day, and then I go into labor with my Virgo baby. I'm a Virgo. So it just made sense.
It was meant to be, to have that all come together, right? So at first, when Jones was at the concert, she thought they were just false contractions. But on the way home, she knew she had to go to the hospital right away. Dad says he may or may not have sped through a few red lights. It's okay. He was just trying to make sure that baby arrived safely.
That's a beautiful story. Named her Nola. Such a cute name. But she's from California. You'd think she might have been from New Orleans.
Yeah,
with that name.
Nola. Or I thought maybe they could name her Virgo, too, with all the Virgo connections, right? But
exactly.
Definitely a great story for a wonderful debut into the world.
Bring some sunshine to everyone right there. And Elizabeth Gardner has plenty more for us in case you're missing out, right?
This may not be the kind of sunshine that you want to hear about. We do have some rain in the forecast as we get into the weekend, and a lot of things happening this weekend. But boy, it'd be nice to have a break from the heat for sure. This is a live look at Chapel Hill, and everybody's out in their shorts and t-shirts. People are doing what they can to stay cool, but kids over here at school at UNC have got to get around and walk back and forth to class. It is 95 degrees with a dew point of 69. We're easily headed to 97. I didn't bump it on up, but it certainly looks like we could, hit 99 maybe this afternoon and 100 in a few spots. The heat index is already 100 in Durham and Raleigh, as well as Fayetteville. It feels like 104 in Clinton and 106 in Goldsboro already. So it's another day that's going to feel very much like yesterday. 97 in Raleigh, 96 Durham, 95 in Fayetteville. Just a hot one out there. Our normal high is 85. It's going to be another hot day tomorrow with mid-90s, but then after that, we're going to get enough cloud cover and some showers to roll in that our high temperatures will drop into the 80s. And it may stay that way for a while. Looking ahead to the following week, it looks like we could have temperatures below normal, and again, normal's mid-80s. But of course, this afternoon in the Triangle, right now we're at 101, easily making 103 by this afternoon. 99 for tomorrow. And then after that, our temperatures should feel just a little bit more comfortable. We take a look at satellite and radar. We have a little bit of rain that's starting to show up right here along this trough of low pressure. The computer models show that dissipating, and that's exactly what's happening out there. We're not looking at any of that really making it into our viewing area. It dissipates between now and say 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. There could be an isolated shower or thunderstorm, but the bulk of us are going to stay dry. Even though we do have that level 1 risk for severe storms, it looks unlikely. If a few storms do pop up, 1 or 2 of those could knock down a tree. We could have some damaging wind, but again, it's just looking really unlikely. Now, tomorrow is a whole nother story. This is 5 o'clock tomorrow. Much more widespread coverage of thunderstorms, but still not everybody. Along the I-95 corridor there at 5 o'clock, it's fairly dry, but again, a better chance overall that we would see a few scattered storms. That chance goes up a little bit more Saturday and even higher on Sunday. 30% chance tomorrow, Saturday 40% during the day, and then on Sunday 50%. A Hopscotch Music Festival happens this weekend. A lot of folks looking forward to that. Going to be pretty warm even at 9 o'clock tonight, 83 degrees, 77 on Friday evening, and 75 on Saturday evening with that increasing chance for showers and thunderstorms. Look at this. This is our high resolution view of Lee here, and Lee is beginning to form an eye. That started really just a few hours ago around mid-morning, and it's really looking like a powerful storm. It's really grown very rapidly. It will continue to rapidly intensify 8 a.m. on Saturday with 160 mile per hour winds. But as it makes that turn northward, it's going to move into some cooler water, and that should keep it from intensifying quite as much. I'm going to show you why why that is coming up in just a few minutes. Once we get into the weekend, again, our temperatures are looking much cooler. I mean, still warm in the mid 80s. The overnight lows get into the act as well with some 60s, and that will definitely feel nice.
Elizabeth, thanks. Coming up on WRAL News at 4 p.m., we are hearing from the family of the woman found dead at Jordan Lake, what they're saying about her and the investigation in Chatham County.
And then at 5, Raleigh is known as the City of Oaks, but rapid development is causing concern about the shrinking tree canopy, why that could be a big problem. And still ahead this noon, Google launches a new effort to keep political ads authentic. What could happen to campaigns who fail to make an AI disclosure?
And you really have to see this to believe it. A man in a human hamster wheel contraption rescued from the Atlantic. We just can't make this stuff up. The reason behind his unusual mode of transportation. Wendy's has a new drink for the fall, and this NFL season is expected to be a record breaker for betting. Those are among today's business headlines with Maribel Aber.
A record number of Americans plan to bet on the NFL this season. More than 73 million people will place a bet, according to the American Gaming Association. That's a more than 50% increase from last season, when 46 million Americans bet on the NFL. The jump in betting comes as legalized sports gambling expands into more states and online betting grows. The NFL season kicks off tonight with defending Super Bowl champs, the Kansas City Chiefs, playing the Detroit Lions. Tom Brady has signed on with Delta Airlines as a strategic advisor. The 7-time Super Bowl winner will help develop teamwork tools for the airline's more than 90,000 employees. And Brady will also appear in some of Delta's advertising and marketing campaigns. The Delta partnership is just the latest venture for Brady post-football. He also has an ownership stake in a British soccer club and a Major League pickleball team. Wendy's is jumping into the pumpkin spice battle. The fast food chain will offer a pumpkin spice frosty for a limited time. Now, usually Wendy's just sells chocolate and vanilla frosties, but it's added limited time flavors like peppermint in the past. And Wendy's is also adding a pumpkin spice frosty cream cold brew for the fall. Both will be available starting next Tuesday, September 12th. And those are your business headlines. I'm Maribel Aber at the NASDAQ Market Site.
More people are willing to pack up and move to save on rent or their mortgage. A new study found 22% of remote and hybrid office workers surveyed in the first quarter of this year say they are willing to relocate. Researchers say it's a trend that's been on the rise since 2021. And this goes for all age groups, but younger workers ages 18 to 34 are significantly more willing to pack up and go or commute a farther distance to work.
New Airbnb rules are in effect in New York City. A new ordinance requires all short-term rental hosts to be registered with the city. They must also live in the place they are renting, be present when someone is staying, and host only 2 guests at once. Hosts in violation of this new law could face fines up to $5,000. Google is adding new requirements for political ads with AI-generated content. Starting in mid-November, all political ads on its platforms must have a clearly stated warning if it contains AI-generated video, images, or audio content. Campaigns that fail to disclose that information will be blocked or removed. Google-owned cybersecurity firm Mandiant says it is seeing a rise in AI use to manipulate information in campaigns.
Criminal cases and 2024 presidential campaigns could collide for 2 of the leading contenders. What's ahead for President Biden's son, Hunter, and former President Donald Trump?
And would you trust a robot to fly your plane? We'll give you a look at the potential pilots of the future. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number 1 source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Federal prosecutors are seeking a criminal indictment against Hunter Biden on tax and gun charges by the end of the month. A judge rejected a previous plea deal that would have allowed the president's son to avoid jail time.
NBC's Laura Jarrett explains how the indictment could put a snag in the president's re-election campaign.
This morning, a criminal case against the president's son moving full steam ahead. Newly tapped special counsel David Weiss revealing prosecutors intend to seek federal charges against Hunter Biden by the end of this month, potentially setting the stage for a trial in the midst of his father's re-election bid. The precise charges are unclear, but this comes after Hunter Biden's legal team and the Justice Department failed to close a plea deal over the summer that would have allowed him to avoid prison time.
The government was up against a clock. It had to charge within a certain amount of time.
Prosecutors had accused Hunter Biden of illegally buying a gun while using drugs and failing to pay his taxes on time. But once a judge questioned the deal, Biden pled not guilty.
It's possible now, since the plea agreement has collapsed, that Mr. Biden could be charged with more serious offenses.
Biden's attorneys say their client is upholding his end of the deal to avoid prison on at least the gun charge, arguing in a statement the agreement prevents any additional charges from being filed.
If two parties make an agreement and sign the agreement and submit the agreement and in open court say they have an agreement, then they have an agreement.
The president has tried to distance himself from the criminal allegations against Hunter, but has also defended his son when asked.
My son's done nothing wrong.
Republicans on Capitol Hill, meanwhile, underwhelmed by news of an indictment.
He's just going to get a slap on the wrist from the judge.
And so the GOP investigations press on, focused on Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings, trying to connect the president to some alleged wrongdoing by his son.
Investigating the Bidens is like tracking a bleeding bear through a snowstorm. There's evidence everywhere.
A former business associate of Hunter Biden recently told lawmakers that he believed Hunter provided an illusion of access to his father, but he had no knowledge of any wrongdoing by the then vice president.
That was Laura Jarrett reporting. Hunter Biden isn't the only one in legal trouble. An IT worker at Mar-a-Lago agreed to testify in the special counsel's office on the federal case over former President Donald Trump's handling of classified documents. In exchange, he will not be prosecuted. This marks the first public acknowledgement that special counsel Jack Smith has the cooperation of key witnesses in his prosecution of Trump, his valet, and Mar-a-Lago property manager.
The district attorney in Fulton County, Georgia, wants to keep the names of the potential jurors secret in the 2020 election interference case. Bonnie Willis filed the motion asking the judge to prevent courtroom cameras from showing the jurors and bar any written descriptions of them from being published. Willis says this order will protect them. The DA also says concealing their identities would preserve the defendant's right to a fair trial.
What does the future hold for our state's economic climate? Just a short time ago, UNC Charlotte economist John Connaughton released his economic forecast for the state. WRAL's Ken Smith has been looking at the data and breaks down the key points. Ken?
Jeff, first up, Professor Connaughton says don't look for a recession to happen in the third quarter and possibly not even in the fourth quarter that starts in October. He says despite the Federal Reserve increasing interest rates 11 times in 17 months, the economy is still hot. A lot of that, he said, has to do with the fact that Americans are still spending and still consuming. The stock market is still robust. Labor market is tapering off, but still strong. Professor Connaughton says North Carolina had a sluggish start to the year. Things have picked up right now in the fourth quarter, though, with the economy continuing to accelerate. Net jobs added this year will be almost 98,000, with education and hospitality showing the most growth. Now, he says inflation will continue to decline, albeit slightly, but next week's CPI report showing what we're paying for goods and services like gas and groceries will be very telling. He says the next Federal Reserve meeting on the 19th of this month is one to watch and to see if there'll be another pause in the raising of interest rates. Of course, look for new reporting on this economic forecast in our news starting at 4.
I know it's caused some big market swings so far, Ken, so we'll wait and see. Thanks.
Now, Raleigh Police is considering working alongside private security company Carolina Protective Services to help patrol downtown Raleigh at night. In mid-August, a man was robbed and assaulted after going out on Glenwood to celebrate a friend's birthday. 2 weeks later, in the same area, Midwood Smokehouse manager David Millette was assaulted, dying days later from his injuries. The city hopes to have the plan in place by the end of the month. We're working to learn if anyone has been charged with the death of a woman who was stabbed at a Wake Forest home. Deputies found Hui T. Luong at a home on Ligon Mill Road Tuesday morning. She and a man had both been stabbed in what was described as a domestic situation. Both were taken to the hospital. No word on the man's condition.
The leader of an ATV club in Durham is speaking out about a large police operation. Authorities in Durham and Wake counties teamed up for Operation Dismount. They identified and charged dozens of riders in connection with illegal dirt bike activity. But Jamal Lewis says locking people up is not the answer. He wants local leaders to create a safe place for off-road riders to enjoy what they love doing.
Of course, you may have one or two that still want to, hit the road or whatever. But I mean, for the majority, taking the majority off of the road, I feel like we could really do it, and it really be successful.
Investigators also say they had incidents of riders attempting to surround police officers, driving into a gas station and stealing, and other crimes. Lewis thinks this would be reduced if there's a safe haven for riders.
One of Raleigh's most popular musical festivals is back in town. What you can expect at Hopscotch, in addition to live music.
A man was arrested for trying to run across the Atlantic Ocean in this giant-sized hamster wheel as a hurricane warning was coming. What he did when authorities caught up with him to end his risky run.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, we're following some breaking news out of Wake Forest. We have an overturned truck here, a Republic Services truck. Several lanes along east and westbound NC 98 are closed in the vicinity of the Jones Dairy Road intersection due to this overturned truck here. You can see it appears to be a garbage truck. No word on any injuries right now, but you can see some glass. It appears to be the front window glass on the floor. A lot of firefighters there. The city of Wake Forest, that additional information will become available as soon as they have it. No word again on any injuries. They are telling motorists to take an alternate route to get around this.
In just a few hours, Shaw University will host the grand opening of its U.S. Commercial Service Office. It's a one-stop office that'll help boost local businesses internationally. The International Trade Commission, U.S. Commercial Service, and the North Carolina District Export Council will all attend the ribbon cutting. Governor Roy Cooper is scheduled to speak this afternoon at 4.
A new exhibit exploring the impact of the pandemic on teenagers launches tomorrow at the Museum of Durham History. It's called Stranger Times, a play off the title of the hit Netflix show Stranger Things. The exhibit was developed from input from teens across Durham and examines how the COVID-19 pandemic affected young people during their socially formative years. Museum officials say, like the teens in Stranger Things had to navigate an alternate reality, much like teens around the country had to adapt to the new normal of wearing masks, schooling online, and not seeing their friends often. Again, the exhibit opens tomorrow.
Hopscotch Music Festival takes over downtown Raleigh starting today. It's a 3-day event that'll include performances by artists like Denzel Curry, Japanese Breakfast, and many more. Tickets are still available. You can buy them at hopscotchmusicfest.com. And it's not just music. You can enjoy BMX jam, skating competitions, as well as day parties. Some are free, some have a cover charge.
We could soon see flights with just one pilot. Who's backing the idea and why pilots' unions say it's a bad idea.
Plus, a song that was generated using artificial intelligence has a shot at not 1, but 2 Grammys. Why the Recording Academy says the song qualifies for those nominations.
Welcome back. Here's a live look at Lake Gaston. Lake would be a nice place to be on a hot day like today with the heat index in the triple digits. Thanks for watching WRAL News. Available on YouTube TV and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device.
Microsoft is revealing how alleged Chinese hackers were able to breach senior U.S. officials' emails earlier this summer. The tech giant said it happened after hackers stole sensitive data from the Microsoft engineer who gave them access to a cryptographic key. It was later used to break into U.S. officials' email accounts. Microsoft says it has corrected the issues that led to that breach. Some plane makers are designing cockpits that need fewer pilots and ultimately no pilots at all. In the past, many aircraft had 2 pilots and a flight engineer. 2 pilot cockpits are now the norm, but on longer flights, crews can have 3 or even 4 pilots to allow them to rotate and not overshoot maximum flying times. The idea of just a single pilot is not sitting well with airline unions. They say the concept poses enormous risk for passengers, pilots, and cabin crew.
And speaking of pilots, Jeff, would you trust a robot to fly your plane? Researchers in South Korea are pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence technology. They say their robot pilot can fully operate a plane, from taxiing, taking off, flying, and landing. Marianne Rafferty gives us a closer look.
The friendly skies may soon have a new companion. Researchers in South Korea hope their artificial intelligence-powered robot will become the pilot of the future. Meet PiBot.
PiBot is a human-sized robot that can control or manage the entire functionality of an airplane, just like a human pilot.
But when humans are already flying the planes, why reinvent the wheel? According to the team at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, our brains are only able to remember so much. But because PiBot is a robot, there's no limits to what it can memorize, including entire flight manuals and navigation charts.
Our PiBot is capable of understanding and remembering everything, literally everything in the manual, and then they can execute without any kind of emotion or panic, especially during the emergency situation.
And while autopilot exists, researchers say traditional settings only control an airplane's speed and altitude, but PiBot can run the entire flight operation from start to finish,
including turning on and off the engines and fly the airplane, take off, cruise, land, everything.
During a recent flight simulation test, researchers say PiBot successfully flew and landed a plane.
That is mind-blowing. That was Marianne Rafferty reporting. The team hopes to have the PiBot, the pilot robot, test flying an actual small plane in the next year or so. I'm not sure if I'm impressed or terrified.
I'm a little scared.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. Here's something we learned in just the past 20 minutes. South Garner High ended its school day at noon. Meet the Teacher tonight will be rescheduled, and all after-school activity times and locations might have to be adjusted. It's been code black for those schools trying to practice, get ready for things like high school football on Friday nights. It's just been too hot.
Yeah, a growing list of local schools. The HVAC systems just can't keep up cooling the entire building, so they have to call it quits for the day. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. We're hoping that we can back off the heat after a little while.
You know, it's probably not going to be until Saturday before we notice a big difference. Tomorrow, we're still looking at highs in the mid-90s, and I guess it's possible that some of those high school football games could be in jeopardy. There's definitely a criteria for how it has to feel outside before they consider it safe. So we'll be watching for that. We're going to have the high school football Friday forecast for you coming up in a minute. In Goldsboro, Apex, Fayetteville, and Chapel Hill, we're seeing some nice big puffy cumulus clouds with lots of sunshine that's allowing our temperatures to really continue to warm up. Right now, again, we're sitting at 95, feeling like 100. Take a look at Hurricane Lee, and this storm formed an eye earlier around mid-morning or so. It's moving northwest at 15 miles per hour, and the big story with the new update that we got at 11 o'clock was the intensification, the rapid intensification going on. It went from 80 mile per hour winds to 105. That is a huge jump. Of course, it's also on the way to Category 5. That was the other big story that happened in the 11 o'clock advisory. By 8 a.m. Saturday, it could have 160 mile per hour winds. It looks like it will begin to decrease in speed by the time we get to early next week. That's winds at 140 miles per hour. So that's a significant decrease. And if the storm makes that left turn or turn to the north, right turn to the north, it's likely that it's going to move into an area that is less conducive for all this rapid intensification. This is right where Franklin was last week. And of course, a hurricane is churning up the ocean water all the time. These storms feed off that top really warm surface layer. But if you mix it up and pull some of that cool air that's underneath up to the surface, then they're not going to have as much energy to work with. So as that storm moves into this air that's a bit cooler, it will not be able to intensify. As a matter of fact, it is likely to continue to weaken fairly significantly. This version of Futurecast brings it up toward, sort of halfway between Bermuda and the coast of the United States. It doesn't show that de-intensification, but we'll continue to watch that. The latest, in terms of impacts for North Carolina, rip current dangers, some beach erosion. Right now, the models are very consistent consistent with bringing it off the coast, most likely during the day Friday, but maybe into early Saturday morning. Right now, it's still too early to say if there'll be a landfall, but it looks unlikely. The models have been pretty consistent, keeping it offshore. This is new also. Tropical Depression 14 winds at 35 miles per hour, moving northwest at 17. It makes a big curve on up into the Atlantic, does become a hurricane, but does not approach land, at least anytime in the next week or so. We, of course, have our cold front moving on through. It's firing up a few scattered thunderstorms in the mountains right now. We just have a 20% chance here today. It's a 30% chance on Friday, 40 Saturday, and 50 Sunday. So those afternoon thunderstorm chances will continue to go up. Our drought status comes out on Thursdays, and we do have abnormally dry conditions, so we definitely need this rain. It looks like kickoff time for football Friday. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s, so hopefully that's going to be cool enough for all those games to be played. We have a game, NC State plays Notre Dame on Saturday. We do have that chance of a few isolated storms.
Thanks, Elizabeth. How about this one straight out of the What Will They Think of Next files? The Coast Guard rescued a Florida man in a human hamster wheel in the Atlantic Ocean. Find out where he was going in this contraption and why he now faces federal charges.
But first, here's a look at your winning Powerball numbers.
We wrap things up with a look at a few of the headlines we're following for you today. For the second day in a row, Durham solid waste workers didn't get in their trucks to collect trash. City employees are demanding more money and better benefits. They're asking for a cost of living increase and a $5,000 bonus. Instead of collecting trash, workers are striking outside their building.
The extreme heat is leading to school schedule changes. The number of Wake County schools dismissing early because of AC issues continues to grow. In the past 20 minutes, we learned South Garner High School ended the school day at noon. 2 other high schools dismissed early today, and 1 was closed altogether.
A house caught on fire this morning in Durham. It happened on Linwood Avenue around 5:30 a.m. This is off Alston Avenue near the Durham Freeway. The WRAL breaking news tracker was on that scene as firefighters worked to put out the flames coming out of the roof of that home. No one was injured. The fire marshal will be on the scene today to investigate.
A song generated by artificial intelligence to mimic the voices of Drake and The Weeknd has been submitted for Grammy consideration. Neither artist was actually involved in the making of the song Heart on My Sleeve. An anonymous artist by the name of Ghostwriter created that song and then had AI generate the sound of the artist's voices for it. The song is eligible for Grammy consideration since it was written by human. Heart on My Sleeve was submitted for Best Rap Song and Song of the Year categories.
A Florida man faces several federal charges for trying to use his human-sized hamster wheel to run off to England. This is the Coast Guard arresting Reza Bellucci off the coast of Tybee Island, Georgia. They told the ultramarathoner his ship was unsafe. That's when they say he threatened to kill himself with a 12-inch knife if anyone tried to apprehend him. He also claimed to have a bomb on board. They later determined there was no bomb. This isn't the first time Bellucci has tried this either. His first attempt was 2014, 2016, and again in 2021.
Our pet of the day is looking for a lovely home to spend his retirement. Darby is a 16-year-old senior man. Like many cats and humans, Darby has developed diabetes with his mature age. But it's under control, and you'd never know it by looking at him. He doesn't mind a little affection, but he's also happy to do his own thing. Visit spcawake.org to learn more about Darby. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
You can also get breaking news updates anytime with our WRAL News app. Try to find a way to stay cool out there. Have a good day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.